Yeah, so once again, if you want to have your video off, totally cool. If you don't want to be seen. So the session, welcome along. My name is Haidee. I'm Haidee Stairmand. Feels like Bond, James Bond, Stairmand, Haidee Stairmand. I am a yoga teacher first and foremost, but I'm really interested in body-mind system and especially the neuromuscular system. I think muscles are fascinating, and I can't remember who it is it Don Juan, who says that muscles are really fine sensory organs and that they're so closely linked to the nervous system. And whenever we move, whenever we think, there is some kind of muscular connection or reaction or process. So in my own practice, been really amazing to start to work with Somatics and Feldenkrais type movements and interweave that into yoga philosophy. And so what we'll do today is based on, I guess it's more Somatics type approach, that we're doing very slow movements, and we are doing them in a really considered way to access the motor cortex in the brain. So the motor cortex being kind of in the middle of the brain here. And by slowing down and doing movements really slowly and really comfortably, there can be quite profound changes in the body mind. And it's not just to do with the muscles themselves. It can be global. There can be changes in breathing, how you feel about yourself. And so this whole kind of holistic body that's connected. Special kind of where I'm looking at it today, coming on that angle, is the pericardium, so the heart. So we all have a heart. Some people, you might question that a little bit more than others. Oh, they've got no heart. Other people, big heart or whatever. So pericardium is like the envelope of the heart's bag, and it has really beautiful fascial and tendon connections and soft tissue connections to the front of the rib cage, the back of the rib cage, the head, and the pelvis. So the heart, really personal part of the body for me. I've suffered from a condition, and that comes and goes. And I know that the heart is, there's lots of stuff with Heart Math Institute. So we'll do a little bit of breathing practice. So we're going to rest for a little bit, do some really slow movements, and then come back and have a rest at the end. And hopefully, nurture your heart space today. So if you'd like to get started in the shape that we'll start in, I'm going to come back over to my space. You should still be able to hear me. If you can't, just let me know. And my friend, the spine is here. So as you take your lying down shape, have a think about kind of the bones in your body as well, and let them be really supported. And you can always start with a bolster. If you'd like a bolster or a pillow, but you don't have to. So I'm just going to roll mine away. And if you'd like a pillow to begin on, you can have your head on a pillow, but you don't have to as well. So you can also let that go. And so I'll just give you a couple of minutes to settle in, and you can start with your legs long or your legs bent, whatever feels comfortable. And if it is cooler where you are, then let there be a blanket maybe underneath you, maybe a blanket over the top of you. And I will be doing most of the movements just as a visual reference, but I also pause out of the movements and you'll carry on doing them. And I'll just take a look onto the screen and see how everyone's going as well. Lovely. So settling in and just feeling free. If it feels more comfortable for you to have your legs long, that's a really great option. Or if it's more comfortable for you to have your legs bent, that is also too a really great option. And so as you are arriving, and there is a rooster in the background as well. If you hear a rooster, I can see him standing out there. He's very handsome. It's not me crowing, it's the rooster. So as you're settling in, just making any little or any adjustments to be more supported by the surface that you're on. And that might mean rolling the head a little. That might mean wriggling the pelvis around. And you might imagine that you're settling into really, really supportive. I like to imagine memory foam surface. And as you settle in, you might just allow your attention to move from your day, from what you've been doing, and allow it to settle into the body. And wherever it settles is great. And of course, the eyes are completely up to you. Maybe your eyes stay open. Maybe your eyes would much prefer to close. Both great options. And everything that we do in the session is a choice. So if you'd just like to rest for the rest of the session, please do. If you want to take time with anything and keep going or rest, please do. There's no expectations here. So as you are arriving and bringing your attention into the body, begin to perhaps visualize the body being more fluid, or the body having kind of a watery quality about it. And there's really no dry parts of the body. And that might be, might have the idea of the extra cellular space in the body, so the space outside of cells being more of the lymphatic fluid or the inner seawater. So just resting or bringing to mind some idea or some felt sense or some visualization of water or seawater or fluidness, whatever that might mean for you. And a really lovely visual that I've been resting on lately is I don't know if you've ever seen that picture of kelp. So kelp being that really thick, really strong seaweed. And you might imagine kind of how that seaweed, it's anchored, it's connected to the bottom or to a rock or some surface in the ocean. But the seaweed, the kelp, is really free to move with the water. And then if you bring, and it feels okay to bring attention to the heart. So the organ said to be a pump. It can act like a pump, but it's not just a pump. It's a lot more, quite a soft organ. Somewhere around the center of your chest, slightly to the left perhaps. You might bring your attention into the heart here. You might have a visualization or an image of the heart, and that could be helpful, or you might let that image go and just simply welcome sensations that are in the heart or from the heart space. And like all organs, muscles, there's an envelope or a bag, a fascial bag, and the fascial bag around the heart is called the pericardium. And the heart and the lungs really intimately connected. So you might take a breath in, and as you breathe in, just perhaps sense the heart space. And as you exhale with absolute ease, letting breathing be as it is. No need to force anything. And as you're breathing and your attention, your awareness is really, really gently resting in the heart space, in the organ of the heart. This fluid spiral, like a helix. So just let a very, very gentle breathing pattern start to happen. And you let it go if it doesn't feel comfortable, or you carry on if it feels okay. And so your choice. So allowing very easy breath in to fill gently. And take a 2-count pause at the top of the breath in. Resting in ease, and then allowing the breath out to happen. The breath out requiring very little effort or none at all, and allow a 2-count pause to happen at the end of the breath out. And this is the cycle. So breathing in with ease, 2-count pause. As you pause, it is a rest. Let go of any bracing, holding, if possible. If not, it remains. And at the end of the easy breath out, there is another 2-count pause. The breathing cycle coming and going with that resting pause. And it's not a competition, it's just 2 counts, whatever your felt sense of 2 counts is. Attention, awareness, really curious about what is the experience around the heart as you're breathing like this. You might feel the heart rate, the rhythm, the beat, which is the opening and the closing of the valves, this beautiful filling and emptying of this lexical organ, connected to very large, very strong blood vessels, taking nutrients around the body and delivering waste back. So a few more breath cycles, never any rush, never any need to force or pull or push anything. Simple curiosity. Nourishing the nourisher, the vital heart. And then, like a piece of salt would dissolve in water, allowing this breathing pattern to simply dissolve into your own natural rhythm. And as it does so, taking awareness into the whole body and just feeling what you feel, walking around the parts of you that are really clearly supported by the surface you're on. Maybe the feet, maybe the back of the hips, the buttocks, the shoulders, somewhere along the arms and the head. And as we begin to move, again, your choice, how much. I would encourage you to move slowly, encourage you to move with ease, and think of that fluid seaweed-likeness, the inner wetsuit of the body, the fascial body, all of the blood vessels, the capillaries. And as you feel the time is right over the next few breaths, allow the head to start to take a very, very lazy roll side to side. And as the head rolls, it starts to roll the watery brain, or the watery brain perhaps rolls the head. And the front of the brain, really, really smart intellect, thinking, planning, working out, it becomes lazy and it empties out its intentions or its experiences into feeling. So just noting the feeling, what's the sensory feedback of simply rolling the head. And we know the pericardium, the bag, the envelope of the heart has really, really clear connections up into the neck and the jaw. So letting the jaw relax, letting the cheeks soften. One more lazy, slow roll each side. And as the head comes back to center, it settles as if it was settling into a little saddle. So you feel here where the weight is on the back of the head. And then if you took a walk really simply down the length of the spine here, and maybe there'd be some kind of connection here that you could feel that the head was in line with the center part of the body, with the spine. And allowing one of your hands to come up to your chest. And just taking a walk around and see if you can find the top of your sternum, the center of your collarbones, your manubrium. And just give that a little gentle touch. And then walking your hand down your sternum. And start to be really curious and interested here. You'll feel where the ribs start to meet. And this part of the body's cartilage. And cartilage is really cool. It's what your ears and your tip of your nose is made out of. It can move, but it's also quite stable and gives us some structure. And as you're coming down, and depending on your body, and there's no worries here, just feeling what you feel, you'll probably come towards the end of the sternum. And so then just take a little walk along each rib with each hand. You might use the other hand and just kind of feel here for the perimeter of the rib cage. And if you like, coming back up the sternum and just feeling where the collarbones are in this kind of area here. And then when you're satisfied with what you've felt and you can kind of sense that, allowing the arms to relax again and consciously soften the sternum and the chest. So there's no efforting, there's no pushing forward of this body, of this part of the body. And really, really gently allowing your attention to move down into the pelvis. I'm just going to take some very simple little rocks through the pelvis. So again, empty out what you might know about the shape. Think of it being led from maybe the heart space. And as you take a very easy breath in, let that fill the abdomen. So the belly and all the soft organs here get a little larger, get pushed forward gently. And as you exhale, let that release and allow the back to start to flatten on an exhale, as if you were bringing your pubic bone, the front of your pelvis, towards you. And as you breathe into the watery abdomen, the fluid abdomen, allow the pelvis to roll back to just where it came from. And so you're letting the exhale, the softening of the sternum, this releasing of the abdomen, allow the pelvis to roll back towards you. And then the soft abdomen, organized by the breath in, takes the pelvis back to where it started. And just coming and going with that in your own pace. And if you have ever watched waves, there's a certain rhythm to them. It's constant. Could there be a fluid kind of tidal quality to how you're breathing here? So that you're moving, the movements are coming and going, but you're never rushing and you're never arriving at the end just to get to the end. It's like this flow of movement that is offered by the pattern of how you're breathing. Softening the chest, letting the heart maybe rest a little into the more the kind of back of the body, but no worries, don't need to get too technical. And then if it feels okay, from exhaling, just pause as you exhale this time and allow the back to be a little closer to the floor. So the abdomen and the chest and the sternum you just felt and the heart, all just kind of relaxed and resting for a moment. Any tension anywhere, have a look at it. See if it's helping. If not, breathe into it. And then letting now the opposite movement start to happen. So as you're breathing in, that watery abdomen rolling its weight to the tailbone, the belly lifting, the back arching really comfortably. And then the exhalation taking you back, so the back releases, the chest softens, and the pelvis rocked back. And if you're an anatomy kind of geek, then there's that posterior rolling and that anterior rolling of the pelvis. And I like to always imagine my pelvic bowl is filled with water. And I'm just tipping the water over the back of the bowl and over the front of the bowl, the pubic region and the sacral region, the back and the front of the pelvis. And this part of the body structurally, when we come up to stand, it offers support, just like the heart offers support for emotions, circulation, lymph, all the fluids. So this is nourishing the pelvis as support, being nourished here through these movements, pandiculation. Taking one or two more of these in your own pace. And as you come to rest, you completely rest, which might mean that you allow the legs to lengthen and the whole body, mind system to take a exhale, which might not mean just a literal breath out, but might mean just letting go for a moment. Let go of feeling necessary, doing anything, and just feel, don't feel, but now feel a welcome sensation. Lovely. And perhaps bring to mind again that kelp forest moving in the ocean. Like fingerprints developed in utero by the movements apparently in the amniotic fluid. So this kind of fluid has softness, but moving in certain ways, it's going to create patterns or have some stronger effects. Lovely. If your legs were long, slowly one at a time, pick them back up and just let the feet stand in a place that offers the pelvis lots of support. Legs doing nothing at all. Bring the arms up above you as if you are holding a ball. But there's no effort to the hands. So it's not like we're here and like ready or going to do something. The muscles are working, but there's not a rigidity to the shape. And give the head a little roll again just before we start the next movements. So as the head rolls, it rolls itself with the idea of fluidness, weightiness, ease. You might sense the shoulders move a little bit as the head moves. Now we've got the arms in this shape. Lovely. And then the head finds itself back in center. And you might even open the eyes and just take a look into the space above you. No judgments about what's on the ceiling, no worries. And just seeing the hands here above you really gently. Breathing in and picking up the right arm as if you're reaching for something on the ceiling. And then exhaling, breathing out and allowing that right arm to release and maybe even take a little press back. And then just staying with that right arm and letting it reach, and the hand palm might even turn a little bit. It doesn't have to, and then it releases. And again, the shoulder or the chest or the neck being quite a complex area, a layered area of muscles, of blood vessels, soft tissue, fluid part of the body. I mean, this is where we take food and air up and down through. So welcome, or find a way, or let your body find a way to do this in a very, very lazy way. And then let that arm pause, but stay there and see if the other arm can start to do similar movement. But know that each arm has quite a different story it will tell you. And that story might be because we're left, or we're right-handed, or we've had an injury, or we've sat in a car and driven a certain way. I think my friend's got a little bit closer out there, the rooster. And softening the chest again, softening the watery abdomen, letting those organs, really, really watery fluid, start to move one arm at a time. So there's a little repetition or a little pattern here that feels really comfortable. Reaching with one, releasing with the other. Soft chest. It's like, could the sternum and the ribs start to take on this watery quality that the organs have? Very supportive organs. And when I say organs, I might mean the lung, the heart, the stomach, the liver, the pancreas, loads of meters of bowel, intestines. And you're reaching and releasing, and the head can roll. In fact, why don't you roll the head if you haven't already, and see if that helps soften or helps you to become a little bit more fluid. And if there's any reason your arms might be getting fatigued, then you rest. We do this just a few more times and feel as you're doing it if there's a way you can make it easier. And this could be a really nice philosophy for life. How do I make life easier? Lovely. And then letting that be, and without any effort, releasing the arms, letting them have a rest, and choosing if you would like to release the legs for a rest now as well. And as you're resting, perhaps notice how you're breathing, if there's been any changes. Might give the head a roll and feel, has my brain become a little bit lazier? Annette Baniel says a lazy brain is an intelligent brain. Knows exactly what it is doing. There's an art to slowness. If anyone's made bread, you kind of get that. You got to leave it alone to do its thing. And so as the head comes back to center, pausing there, sweeping the legs if they went down, back up. Letting the arms hang out at a place that feels like you have a little space in the armpit. Not too wide, not too narrow. And just do a little breathing movement now. So if you feel okay, and this is always an option, you're going to lift your pelvis up a little so that you can roll your pelvis up. And you might roll it up and then put it down a couple of times. And this could be a whole practice in itself. And you're going to roll it up to a place where it feels like you have some weight in your upper back. And the weight in your upper back is offering you a place to put your attention right now. So lifting the pelvis, and at any point, there's no point causing discomfort to get other things. This is kind of counterintuitive in my opinion. You can put your pelvis back down. But if it feels okay to have it up there, leave it up there. I'm going to put mine back down and just sit up for this so I don't get out of breath or anything. And that little bit of weight you can feel on your upper back, allowing very easy breath to come in and just start to travel the breath in through both sides of both nostrils, down through the mouth, through the trachea, the windpipe, the airways. And see if you can direct the breath over to the left upper lung or upper portion of the lung. And every time whatever goes up, whatever you breathe in has to breathe out. So there's always that breath out. And I would really encourage you here. It's quite, with the breath, we can overdo it and start taking in lots of breath. Let it be very easy, quiet breath. So you're breathing in and you're taking the breath over to the upper corner of the lung. Somewhere under the collarbone, over by the armpit. And you might even start to take it, excuse me, I do burp and I do swear. I'll try not to swear since I've burped now. You take it over to the left upper lung and start to breathe around to the left shoulder blade as if there was a really helping hand inside your lung, pushing the lung out to the left shoulder blade with ease, softening the sternum as you exhale. And then maybe one more of those. And if you need a break, as you are ready, let the pelvis come down for a moment. If you don't, you stay up there, but do be honest about that if it feels easy or if it feels a little challenging. And then when you're ready, picking the pelvis up again. And as you pick the pelvis up, you come up again, just to that place that feels like there's enough pressure on your upper back to give you a sense of there being lung up by the shoulder blade here. And then start to take the breath in down the throat, the trachea, over to the right upper lung. And then releasing and just playing with that, maybe to more the front surface of the body in the beginning, up by the collarbone, up by the armpit. And the lungs are said to give the heart a little hug every time you breathe in. So imagine that pericardium, the diaphragm, really close friends here with the heart as well, all kind of getting a little bit of massage, a little hug. And then play with the idea of breathing in around to the back of the shoulder blade, or from the kind of inside out, as if your lung was meeting your right shoulder blade for the first time. And the lungs, pretty amazing. You open up all the vessels, they fill up a tennis court. Blood vessels go around the world a couple of times. There's just amazing kind of galaxies in our own body. Perfect. And then when you're ready, leave that alone and just let the pelvis come back and release. And just take a moment resting and feel what you feel. If there's maybe more vitality in the breathing or something's changed. And you can take a slide out of your right leg so that your left stays standing. And as you do that, just check in. Everyone's got different structures here. Is that okay for your lower back? If it is, stay there. If it's not, you can come back up with that leg, no worries. And there's some space between your left foot and your right leg, so they're not really close together. And you're going to roll by pushing, think water, you're rolling the water of the pelvis over the right hip. The left knee stays standing, and there's a really soft belly, and you're breathing in, and then you exhale, and you just come back to where you started from. And maybe the left leg wants to roll in. Well, let's feel as you're doing that if there's a way that it doesn't roll in. So it's a really soft abdomen. You're rolling the water, rolling the soft organs over that right hip. And just playing with that a couple of times and think about that really soft heart and that really soft, watery abdomen. And the sternum's fairly relaxed. And everybody's brain's really lazy now, so you don't really care what you're doing, which is good. This is great for the nervous system. And then I don't like you to do anything. It's your choice. When you roll over a little bit to that right side next time, is there a place you could stay that you can feel some of the right surface of the back of the body against the floor? So there's more clearly the right side of the body on the floor than the left. And it's never a place you have to stay that's uncomfortable. So it's a little subtle movement. The brain, the body mind system doesn't really mind. What's easy, what's comfortable, lovely. And as you're here now, start to breathe in through the watery heart, the lungs, down into the abdomen, and feel, if you can, something or the pressure increasing through the right side of the body, down the back of the body. Through the back of the lung, perhaps, maybe through the very dense fascia of the lumbar. The kidneys are back there. And just taking a couple of breaths with more of your weight poured over to your right side. Being curious about how breathing, which we know the heart grabs onto the oxygen, the blood vessels, the red blood cells take it right around the body to every cell and then bring back waste. How the lung can reach down and create some pressure change down this right side of the body. Checking that you're always making it easy. And then when you feel satisfied, you might stay there for another breath or two, just working with some of those lower lobes of the lung. Letting it go and just rolling back to your back. Pausing with that leg long and that leg short. And then the short leg or the bent leg, really. Give it a gentle little watery, little fluid roll in and roll out. And the movement is so small and soft and gentle that the foot doesn't really roll off the floor at all. There's just some more weight that goes to the big toe side, and then there's some more weight that goes to the little toe side. And it's the left bent leg that's doing that little movement. And so muscles are really incredible structure. They're surrounded in their own watery bags as well. If there's any kind of jerkiness or choppiness to this movement, how would you let the body work it out to be a little smoother? Knowing that the more powerful muscles or muscles we use quite unconsciously for standing in the day can get interesting patterns in them, in the nervous system. So feeling, sensing as that leg comes back to center. Pause again, and slowly you choose if you're okay to roll that out long, and just pause with both legs long and both arms long for a moment, feeling how everything is right now. Maybe one leg got a little longer. Breathing easily, hydrating, and then sliding the opposite leg up to stand. So that'll be the right leg. Or maybe you have two right legs and now you're working with your third left leg. That's all good as well. So opposite leg. And just feeling where that foot and that leg is, there's some space there, and there's some space so that we can allow, as you feel ready, that pushing down to roll the water over the left hip out of the pelvic bowl, and then releasing, and keep feeling as you're just repeating that movement a couple of times, how the sternum, how the heart, how the whole body could really listen to its inner seawater. So water is soft, but water is also very strong and very patient and persistent. If you've ever had a leak in your house or your car, you know it finds a way, even where there is seemingly no way. And as you pour over this time, again, a little bit of weight to the left side and the left kidney, the left back of the body, clearly more against the surface than the other side. Be kind to yourself if this side's different, do less. And then start to breathe in down that side of the body as if you're hydrating the tissues with your breath. And there's the beautiful, large, slippery eel, the psoas, that lives on each side of the abdomen and has that connection through the whole body. And so you could even imagine you're breathing down the line of your psoas if you have a relationship with it. There's something changing at the back of the body. There's some kind of pressure change that you feel. And by feeling, the brain loves to feel. It's like, what is that difference? What is the feeling difference of breathing in? What do I feel when I breathe out? And if you're not sure, welcome whatever sensation is present. Allow thinking to feel rather than thinking just to think, and try and get something out of nothing. Perfect. And if you've had enough, welcome that leg to, or that pelvic half to release, and the leg stays standing, and just let the body settle and give it a couple of breaths to settle. When you drop a pebble into a pond, the ripples take a few moments to disperse. And then lovely, lazy right leg starts to roll a little in and roll a little out, like a piece of seaweed. And if there's shuddery, if there's shaky, wonderful. You have just met a new piece of yourself. Maybe the seaweeds being a little bit dried up here. Maybe the seawater quite hasn't been making it into this part of the body. And when you feel ready, you allow that to finish, and we always clearly finish and then release the legs. So it's quite clear for the nervous system what you're doing. And just taking a moment, be in the body, welcome whatever sensations are present right now. Slowly, 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 rolling over to one of your sides. And as you roll to your side, please, if you need it, grabbing a pillow or a blanket that's going to support your head to be in line with your spine. And so I'm on my right side, so my right arm is underneath me. My right leg is bent and my left leg is on top, and my knees are in line with the creases at the top of my thighs or my hip creases. And just bringing the palms together and organizing yourself in this shape so that you feel as you're lying down, your head is really clearly not having to work to be up. You're not up watching Netflix with 20 pillows, and it's not hanging off to produce any strain through the side of the neck. And if, for some people, lying on the side of the pelvis here can be a little uncomfortable. So please, you're a cat, be narcissistic, take as much comfort as you want. And just pause here, feeling as you're in this shape where the breath is, how you feel the heart space here. Organs all a little kind of dropped to one side or settled into one side. Again, easy rather than hard. Slowly start to roll your top arm hand forward so that your whole body rolls forward a little. And then really lazily roll that arm hand that's on top up the arm and let the head roll so you look a little up to the ceiling. It's like this real watery movement, really lazy movement. And then you're going back. And as you go back, the arm that's on top reaches out a little further because the shoulders are getting really fluid now. And as you roll back and over, the head always follows, or the sternum follows the head. So there's a really fluid movement quality. And you're just rolling back and forth. And my encouragement would be to make this as lazy as possible. It's Sunday afternoon, maybe in the place where you are. And so how do you move on a Sunday afternoon? The hand might start to come up to the chest, passing by the sternum, the heart, and then sliding back down. Lazy arms, lazy body, really heavy, fluid head. And just pouring your weight back and forth here. And it's not a competition, but there are certain personality types that might like a little bit more. No judgments. And so as you're opening up, so the head or the eyes are looking a little bit more to the ceiling. The eyes don't have to be open, but that direction. Maybe the arm starts to open behind you, and it would only open when the shoulder blade on that top arm got to the floor. And then it lazily comes back. It's like the arm's not even interested in being straight or being an effort. And these movements with awareness in repetition, you can start to make it bigger, but it's not about stretching. In fact, I would really encourage you not to feel stretch anywhere. Really, really soothing for the motor cortex. This starts to have an effect, a softening effect on some chronically tight muscles, start to change some movement patterns, and it means you get stronger, you get longer, and you get more, you get younger, smarter, more attractive. You own a 12-story building with a helicopter pad. Maybe. You definitely get different sensations coming from the muscular structure when you slow things down with the tension though. Perfect. And if you have opened out into what might feel kind of like a little open twist, and wherever that is for you, just pause there now. Maybe the hands somewhere above the heart, maybe the arms wide open, and the nose always looks at the hand. So wherever the hand is, it's kind of the nose is there. Taking a few very easy, gentle breaths. Exploring the fluid, the inner wetsuit, the lymph, the extracellular, the blood being a connective tissue now, classified as a connective tissue. We already knew that though, right? And then super slow, and there's two ways we can come to the other side, and this is up to you. You can either roll completely open and then very slowly let the knees open and roll to the other side, or that's not okay for some people's lower backs. In a cat-like way, you just pick your body up and you come to the other side. So just swapping sides slowly. Let transitions be a really rich part of any movement practice that you have. And this kind of mirrors what we do in daily life. We're in transition most of the time than in any end or fixed point. Lovely. So as you come to the new side, please take your time to set up similar. Knowing that the heart and the organs all have a different arrangement now as we're on a new side. Knees are in line with the crease at the hip. And nothing is a strain here. You could be here for 5 hours resting. Hand on hand, palm on palm. Starting that reaching when you're ready. And then that rolling back of the arm up the other arm. Just a little to begin with. Just enough to feel the seed or the direction of the movement before we make it bigger, before you make it bigger. And there's something about the heart, the sternum, the ribs softening here, which makes it even easier perhaps. So quite often we brace against life, we push, we guard head first into things, so to speak. What would it feel like to be a lazy, soft version of yourself right now? To do less rather than more. And the arm rolling, the head getting that feedback, that body getting the feedback perhaps, that if the head starts to really lazily move where the hand moves, does this help somehow? So this has a really, really positive effect, these movements. This is from Hannah Somatics on the muscular structure around the chest, the neck, the shoulder blades. Any improvement here with the patterns has a positive effect on breathing and of course circulation. So where blood can flow, nutrients can pass in, waste can pass back out. And the lymph being your inner seawater, your inner aquarium filter, nice and clean, everything's working. Aquarium gets a bit murky, we start to get some stagnation. So your breath is like a little brush, it's cleaning everything. Movement's helping, and you might make them a little bigger. Maybe the hand passes, maybe it already has started to express that arm. To be open and then close, and you never have to go any further than what is completely comfortable. And then pausing if you wish for a breath or two before we come towards the end of this. from pausing, now choose to make your way into any shape in particular for resting. And if you've had enough of lying down, then of course you can choose sitting up. If you would like to be on your belly or your side, these are all really, really, really great shapes. If you had a bolster, you might roll it under your knees. You might like to use that pillow and just gather it, or the blanket, and gather it around the back of the head, giving it a little tuck in, making a very, very comfortable place for the skull. And resting, being really refreshing to the body mind. So as you find that comfortable place to rest, be there. Maybe the eyes open, maybe the eyes closed. Both are perfect options. And letting your awareness look at the whole body. As if you step back and admired the body through sensation. Breathing, coming and going just as it is. And sensing where the limbs are, the legs, the weight of the pelvis, perhaps. Watery abdomen. Maybe a little bit of vitality in the muscular structure. The sensation of being alive. You might come back and be in the three-dimensional heart again, in the pericardium, the envelope of the heart. The qualities that are present. No need to judge or make a story, just whatever's there is there. You perhaps might welcome an inner smile radiating from your heart. An inner smile radiating from the heart out into the whole body. Every cell being nourished by this inner smile. You might stay here and choose to rest here for as long as feels required. You might welcome the senses to open, becoming aware again of the surface that is supporting you, how your body is in relationship to that surface now. You might take a fuller breath in, which is not necessarily a bigger breath, but just a breath that seeks out a little bit more of the nooks and the crannies. That might be exhaled as a sigh or a yawn or a scream. I can't hear you. So you might swear. You could do anything you like. If it felt good to massage the jaw as you brought yourself back to the afternoon or the day or whatever or wherever it is that you're practicing this. Massaging the jaw just around the back of the ear. They're very, very helpful for the nerves that exit this part of the body, the vagal nerve, the nerve, plural, singular, whatever, which has direct effect on heart, breathing, vice versa. And like every cat in the world does, you might stretch a little, you might yawn, and taking all the time in the world to eventually, if you are choosing to come back to be seated, and as you come back to be seated, yeah, after Hannah somatics or Feldenkrais, it's quite nice to look in the mirror. It's like your face has been softened by the inner sea. So you just had a facelift. Thank you so much for joining in. I hope that was useful, helpful.